Welcome to Since Rookie Season,
Well, the summer before.
a heated rivalry fan companion podcast where your hosts, Amanda, Lau, and Lauren, break down the episodes from the Crave Canada television series, the Game Changers novels, and various media surrounding this fan phenomenon.
We decided to pause our well-deserved rest to bring you this episode about the most recent scandal in this fandom, the use of generative AI in some very well-known fanfiction works. Keep listening to hear our thoughts and know more about the experience of some of us with the New York Times piece on this topic.
Hi!
Hi!
Back.
Okay, so
Hi!
in that intro, I'm like, the most recent scandal. I wrote that like a week ago, and we already have new scandals.
We
So-
already
Let's talk
have
about
like,
both of them.
well, we have like 6 new scandals. It's crazy. Crazy.
I should have seen that coming. Like,
No, literally, we should have seen that coming. But here we are. The New York Times article came out about a week ago. Was it a week ago?
mhm. It was.
Yeah.
It was. What?
Something
Really?
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It came
I
out
don't
in
even-
early August.
It came out the Thursday that I was working Lollapalooza.
So yes, last week.
No, that wasn't last week. That was 2 weeks ago.
That was 2 weeks ago.
It was like 10 days ago.
It's
But
What
fine.
is
anyways,
time?
Here we
What
are.
is time?
What is time? Time means nothing. Yeah, we're basically going to talk about that because that was an experience. And then at the end of our episode today, it's just going to be a little short update, but we'll talk about the new casting rumors and confirmations and give our little feedback there. And then we will probably not see you again until October. I don't even know when we're coming back. September?
I think
October?
October.
We said September.
I think September is when we are coming back to record, but we were thinking. So
Yeah.
October. Yeah.
We'll be back in
October.
October. We'll be back in October for
Again.
sure.
What is time?
And also, what is time? Because I have now lost all sense of time because I got a job!
Yay!
It is the same exact thing that I was doing. They just actually put me on payroll now. So,
We love that.
We love getting paid for your labor.
yeah, I
Right?
was at less than $5 an hour before. So,
Yeah, I mean, not that you're probably getting adequately paid for your labor, but we love that you're getting paid
Definitely
for your
not.
labor.
No. My rent will be like 80% of my paycheck each month.
That's also just also where you live, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah, but like $2,800 for a studio or 2-bedroom is
Yeah.
kind of nuts.
Listen,
That's crazy.
that is an experience in some places in the US that I find to be absolutely nuts.
Just an us aside, I thought it was really funny when I asked you, Lau, if you needed us to fundraise for your surgery.
I thought that too.
And then
I was like, Lauren, she has insurance.
and
Or not insurance,
also
but like,
Colombia has like good healthcare. Or like
I actually wanted to mention this on like the main podcast, not just us. Like that was the most funny Colombian versus US conversation
Yeah, I
I've
was
had in a
like-
while.
and
No.
yeah, I saw that. I was running samples, so I couldn't respond. But I was like, Lauren, she's not here.
Okay, so
She's not in the
for
US.
our listeners, because we should mention what has been happening in my country. So yesterday we had a strong earthquake. It's the strongest it has been in a decade. This is a earthquakey area of the globe, and Colombia tends to dance every once in a while. But yesterday was absolutely terrifying in a lot of regions of my country. Fortunately, Bogota was just like stronger than usual, but not terrifying. I'm also not terrified of earthquakes for some reason. And we're fine. Curry is fine. He hated evacuating.
Oh, I'm sure.
He was not happy, but he let me put him in his carrier, and so he won a churu. So a little treat afterward.
Oh my god.
I was talking about this in our podcast chat, and I was also getting a doctor's appointment yesterday about my recent diagnosis of endometriosis. And then I updated everyone on the chat, like, I'm getting surgery to treat this condition that is uncurable so far because it's a mystery of science.
And it's a mystery
wake
because we
up-
haven't actually studied it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because why would we
exactly.
study women's health or
Why would-
vaginas?
Why would we?
Why would we?
Listen, what is 2 weeks every month of being incapacitated by pain in your legs and back and lower like body? Like, why would anyone care about that, right? So this morning I wake up to very kind messages from both Amanda and Lauren asking a lot of stuff and celebrating the fact that I'm finally getting like proper medical attention for this.
Hell
And
yeah.
but at the same time, we were talking about the earthquake and how we wanted to use our platform to maybe help people in my country and fundraise and all that. And then Lauren asks, "Do we need to fundraise?" Lauren was talking about my surgery. I was like, is this about surgery? Is this about the earthquake? And so I was like, I am not in the US. I have good health insurance, and also public health will cover this. So no, we do not need to fundraise for my endo stuff. Maybe for the earthquake? Question mark.
Well, like, okay, I just looked it up. Like, in the US, it's $12,000 to $20,000 if you're uninsured, but with insurance, it's $2,300 to $4,900, and like that's still like for many Americans,
I am
like
so happy. I am so
completely out
happy
of
that
pocket.
I came back to my motherland. You know, Viva Colombia, gracias, mi querida patria, because I can get my surgery without filing for bankruptcy
Yeah,
afterwards.
right.
You know,
No, I mean, like, and that's like the reality of most Americans is like they cannot pay for their health insurance.
yeah. So yeah, that was a very funny interaction. Thank you, Lauren. You made me laugh.
But also, if you want to donate money to the refugees and the crisis in Colombia, we have all of those links on our threads and on our Instagram and on our Twitter as well. So you can go ahead and do this whenever you listen to this podcast, which will probably
And it'll
be
be in the
next
show
week.
notes.
And it'll be in the show notes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, so are we ready to get into it? Are we ready? Are we ready to talk about the thing?
I think so.
Yeah, I guess.
Where should we
Yeah.
start?
Where should we start? Okay. Can I start? Can I start with the
Please,
overview of the
please.
event? Of the overview of the event? Okay.
Please give us context.
Yes. So basically, it is the end of Pride Month. All the gays have decided that they have extinguished all of their gay energy at all of their Pride celebrations. They're ready to go back to be chaotic online. And this account on Twitter publishes like basically a manifesto that is about how to create a skin for Archive of Our Own. And basically, if you're not familiar with like any computer things, a skin is just a way to view a web page. And on Archive of Our Own, there are a lot of different skins that do a lot of different things. Some creators make specific skins for their stories. I use the Reversey skin, which is basically like dark mode all of the time on AO3. But basically, skins are just ways to view the websites. So this account on Twitter created a skin that detects if Claude has been used in a fan fiction. And how it knows that is because when you copy and paste things into Claude, the metadata, which is like all of the code that like helps create a web page, so like HTML and CSS and JavaScript, the metadata like gets a little bit of like Claude code left behind, and it basically will say like Claude response in some way, shape, or form. And so basically in this big document that came out, the creators not only showed a way to download and create this skin for Archive of Our Own for yourself, but then also it tagged about 38 current Heated Rivalry fics that have instances of Claude code in them. All right. And this is to say that like people who maybe are a little more well-versed on metadata could be deleting this, could be deleting the Claude lines out of their own code, but that the average user of Archive of Our Own, of the internet in general, doesn't know how to do HTML code, doesn't know how to do CSS, so it was getting left in there. Now, at this point, I think most of the fics have either addressed like the Claude in their fic, or they have been deleted kind of substantially off of Archive of Our Own. But this has been a big issue, not only in the Heated Rivalry fandom, that like one of the most popular Stranger Things fan fiction was discovered to have Claude in it in the metadata. But essentially, with this Claude response that it leaves in the metadata, it doesn't tell you what Claude is used for. All you know is that something was copied from Claude and put into that document. So we don't know why people are using the AI, just that it's showing up. And basically what this skin does is it turns the entire page, if there are any instances of Claude, it turns the entire page that you're viewing, the web page, bright red. So you know that it's in there. Did I describe that accurately enough to you both?
That was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
So then Lauren mentioned someone published this manifesto. I believe it was anonymous.
Yeah,
but
it's anonymous.
It called out all of these users and all of these people. And I don't know that it had a lot of like value neutral like words like good or bad. Did it say things were good or bad, or did it just have it? Because I thought it was like value neutral. Like it just said like these are AI, or no?
It just said that these have instances of Claude code in them, but it didn't say like go attack these authors. Like it like specifically in the documentation it says like we're not advocating for you to like go after these creators and like call them out online. We're just trying to like make you aware that this exists. They were trying to be like a centrist basically on this issue.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at, that they weren't trying to attack people, they were just trying to make people aware of it. And so this manifesto came out, and of course everyone like lost their shit, because now we have this thing that shows AI in some capacity in these fics, and of course everyone immediately was like very polarized about it, even though the manifesto itself was value neutral.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like when I saw it, my immediate like first response was, let me go run it on. So basically, like a while ago, I orphaned all of my fics on Archive of Our Own because I have been a long-time user of Archive of Our Own, because there are like we've often posted links of things that I've written in the podcast bio. I didn't want people to know all of the smut that I was writing throughout my 10 years on the website. So I orphaned a bunch of accounts. So my first thing when I saw this skin was I of course created the skin for myself, and then I wanted to see if it would like do that on a fic that I knew hadn't been using Claude at all. And it was like a fic I wrote back in 2023. And so I needed to test it. I was like, of course, at first I was like, oh, I need to test this first. And then my second immediate thought was, well, like, how are people using AI? Like, is it this? Because it doesn't tell you. Like, it just says that Claude has been used. So is it like Claude is writing this, and maybe in fics where there are large instances of Claude, where there's like hundreds of instances in the metadata, maybe that's more likely that it is using Claude to write it. But like a fic that I really enjoyed had Claude instances in it, and I was like, oh my god, it was like 6 instances, and I was like, what the fuck? And I was like especially pissed because the person has said that they're an academic, and like this fic is about Shane and Ilya being academics. And so I was like, oh shit, like, what do you mean? Like, that's so disingenuous, like, to me, especially because we're having such problems in the academy with AI. Like, Lau and I talk about this literally all of the time.
All the time.
But then the person ended up addressing it like right after it came out, and they were like, I was doing a workshop at my job to talk about AI editing, and like it wanted us to write something, but we didn't have like a really big amount of time. So I just like copied something that I had already had. I pasted it into Claude. I had it edited. It was terrible. And then I, like moved it back over to AO3, and that's why it was in there. And like, I don't know, I'm taking that at face value. I realize that might be naive, but like, truly, like, the amount of detail that this person has in their story about academics and like the academy, I'm like, there's no way they could get all of that information from Claude. Like, Claude is not that smart to write about this, because like Claude does the average, right? That's all of genAI. It just writes the average of something. And so I was like, I think I trust this person. But like some fics that had like, hundreds of instances, they've been completely removed from the archive.
So I just want to point out, first of all, that I love that you ask yourself these questions. I am maybe from the three of us the less informed in this issue, because I have been on a social media detox this few months because the pain was so debilitating. I was losing interest in a lot of stuff.
And that's so
And
real.
then, yeah. And so I was learning about all of this from you guys. And I loved that you both demonstrated critical skills, in that you're not just like, oh, someone says this happened, and I'm just gonna believe it, and that's it. And this is something I repeat to, like, I tell the professors that I coordinate a lot, because they are all of them are trying to use these like softwares that supposedly tell you if a student used AI on their paper. And when this came out and our universities were testing it, I remember my husband saying, oh, let me try and do exactly what Lauren did. So let me try and put my undergrad thesis, that this was like back in 2016. So none of this existed, and see what happens. And it flagged it like 90% AI.
Wow.
And we tried it with a lot of our undergrad papers that we know we wrote, and it kept flagging it. And so I started reading on it, and those softwares tend to flag neurodivergent writing, and also foreign people writing English tend to get flagged usually. So every single time I see someone claiming that something has AI, I need to know, how do you know? And how was AI used? And how do you know if, like, do you know what kind of use was given to the AI? Because I hate AI, but I
Right.
think that different uses have different consequences and mean different things.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I was so happy to be informed by people that were asking questions instead of just jumping to conclusions. Because if I had been relying on y'all and you were not doing that, I would be in a very bad spot right now.
Right. So the reality is that there are a lot of people in this fandom who have never been in fandoms before. We've joked about like baby's first fandom, baby's first day on Earth, like before on this podcast. But there is a level of scrutiny on fan fiction that I have never seen before. And there are so many authors who are like, I am not writing for this fandom anymore because you guys criticize every little thing. Like, I've seen a lot of like authors be like, I don't speak English as my main language, and honestly, like, or as my first language, and like, I'm getting hate because of how my grammar and my spelling are. And so like, people might be seeking out AI to do like grammar and spelling for them. And I mean, like, Grammarly and like even Microsoft Word, like, those are not generative AI, but they are a form of AI. Like, spell check is a form of AI. Like, even the like predicator of what you're going to text next is a form of AI. So like, I think there is a lot of like, I'm like really struggling with this fandom, with how toxic it is and how toxic it treats its like fan fiction authors because of this AI thing. And like, the other thing is that people will be like, oh, these are the tells of AI. And I'm like, girl, no, like, that's just how I write, And like, we know in academia, like Lau and I do, like, they literally tell us that we can't use AI checkers because they hallucinate, and like tell us that things are AI when they're not AI. And so like, the other thing is AI is constantly evolving. And so as soon as I feel like you learn one tell, then that tell corrects itself. And then you got to go learn all of the other ones. And so you have to do so much work and so much like brain power that, listen, this fandom, people are not willing to even think about racism in this fandom. You think you're gonna like want to critically think about AI to determine if something is AI or not. And so it became this whole big thing. And I mean, people are like comparing it to a witch hunt, which I fucking hate that phrasing. That's honestly disgusting phrasing, because like people actually died during the Salem witch trials hunts, and like there, like are negative consequences for like women, especially as a result of witch hunts. And like it is a drawback to like puritanical culture, which I mean, the world is going that way anyways. So this is, I mean, we all hate the term witch hunt here. I think it's more aligned with like call out culture or like cancel culture than it is aligned with like witch hunting or anything like that.
And not only Salem, like the experience in the Americas, in South America, the experience of all the colonies that were governed by the Spanish Empire, the people that were targeted were Black enslaved people and Black
Exactly.
freed people, and their religion and uses of medicinal herbs were being persecuted and treated as witchcraft. So
Mm-hmm.
there was like a racial profiling, and there was
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of the Catholic Church persecuting everyone that behaved outside of the norm of what they believed was sacred. And every time I hear witch hunt, I'm like, listen, you have no idea. And I actually cringe when I see, like, I'm sorry if you're one of these people. I have nothing directly against you, but I would like you to hear me out and maybe get educated on what witches and witch burning and all of that means, because I've seen a lot of feminists going to manifestations and protests with stuff that says, I am the granddaughter of the
The
witches you
witches
cannot
you
burn.
couldn't burn.
And I don't like it, because you're not actually not you need to learn your history. You need to
Mm-hmm.
learn that your grandmother was probably one of the like, no.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like the amount of indigenous people in the Americas that have
Exactly.
been annihilated by the government, and in Canada too.
Yeah.
Like, do not
Yeah.
use the term witch hunt because you don't like that somebody's using AI. Like,
Yeah.
Not to make us seem like AI defenders. We just want to take this with a nuanced take. Because the first time Lauren started talking about this, I was like, Lauren, what the fuck are you saying? You sound like you're defending the use of AI, which I know you are morally against. Like, I was trying to understand, but I think it's just how we talk about these things and how we approach them. Like, that we hate the term witch hunt, and we need to think about people complexly.
Yeah, I mean, it's cancel culture is what it is.
Yeah, and it doesn't really have a place in our fandom. I mean, maybe it does in certain ways in terms of like holding people accountable and like criticizing people to hold them accountable for different things. But
what you're talking about is call-in culture, which is something very different than cancel culture. Call-in culture is saying, okay, we as a group collectively, as a fandom, as whatever, we need to address these things, and here's how we're going to like move forward. And like call-in culture has a pathway for like restorative justice. Cancel culture, which is what is actually happening in this fandom, doesn't have any pathways forward. It's like, we're just going to cancel you because you're using AI, not because we care why you're using AI, just because we have whatever. We have this unnuanced way of looking at things. Like, we are so stringent in like what our boundaries are.
Yeah, and I think maybe an example of this that would also apply to this fandom is trying to use call-in culture on Rachel Reed and trying to get her to better understand either like different aspects of Shane that we've talked about on the show before, like either autism or his heritage or different things like that. And which is also why Unrivaled, the book, is taking so long to come out, is because she heard those responses and wanted to take more time. And so I think that that's a good example of, we're not just like icing someone out of whatever because of the things they said, we're trying to get them to change in a way.
Right, exactly. And like, the thing about like Rachel and Jacob Tierney is they seem receptive to fans. Like I was just having an argument about this with someone the other day, and they were like, well, if you don't like Rachel Reed and you don't like the director and you don't like the characters, then don't watch the show anymore. Don't engage in the fandom. And it's like, okay, first of all, you just said, yo, fuck all the people who are calling out racism, sexism, homophobia, all of these things. First of all, that's what you basically just said, because we can use inference, which is a critical reading and reading comprehension response. But also, like, we can want better for our media, and we can criticize the media that we consume and want people to do better and to learn more and to grow as humans and be more accepting. And if we just are constantly being like, yeah, well, fuck that person, like, I'm just not going to engage with it anymore, things don't move forward, right? This is completely different as to what's going on with J.K. Rowling, who I hate that I'm even saying this online. She continues to target the trans community, continues to spend the money that Harry Potter fans have given her to target the trans community and to hurt them in a myriad of ways. Okay? Cancel that bitch. Stop doing Harry Potter stuff. Don't give her any more money. That is also completely different.
I'm sorry that we're touching on this, but I read this morning that the UK was forced to derail the.
I saw that.
Something about their like. I don't know if it was like cabling or something.
It's an underwater cable, yeah.
Yeah, fans were upset. Fans were not upset about the environment. Fans were upset that it would desecrate Dobby the elf fictional grave.
The fake grave.
A slave.
Yep.
A slave. Let's be real, because the house elves are slaves in those books.
Exactly. The fictional grave of the elf that was used by J.K. Rowling to defend slavery as something that just happens, and some slaves are happy, to quote the books. Honestly, that fandom.
Right, and then, have you heard where it's going now? It's going through a Bronze Age archaeological site now.
Yeah. Yep.
I hate, like, nothing good can come out of Harry Potter anymore. Like,
no.
Whereas, even though we have said that we have little faith, maybe there is, like, Rachel Reed and Jacob Tierney are participating in micro and macroaggressions and have not acknowledged it and have failed in defending their diverse cast. But we still think maybe they are not completely evil, because Rowling there's nothing about J.K. Rowling, absolutely nothing that you can defend. Like,
no,
she is nasty towards people, like the original actors of the movie.
Right.
She is a pro-Zionist. She is, at this point, I believe she's a white supremacist.
Absolutely. I knew that years ago.
Yeah, but I think at this point she has said stuff like, there are not just like the clues that she's leaving all around, but now she's tweeting without shame.
Right, and I mean, she's a Zionist, but then she's also anti-Semitic.
Oh,
which
right.
Is crazy combo.
Which is crazy combo.
When you think about it. Hot take. Zionism and the creation of Israel was a very convenient way of both controlling what Europe calls the Middle East and the resources, and ensuring that you can send the Jewish people elsewhere that is not your country.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
so Zionism, anti-Semitism, they go hand in hand.
Right, exactly. I mean, the thing is that Rachel Reed got a sensitivity reader for Unrivaled, specifically to look at issues of race, you know? And so, like, that is important. That is growth. She took what we had to say and she took that in and has decided to go out and do something with it, you know? J.K. Rowling has never done those things. And, like, that is where the call-in versus cancel culture differs. We could talk all night about that, but we want to talk about the New York Times article that Amanda and I were interviewed for, because, all right, listen, every newspaper news magazine comes out with some hot takes on fandom every once in a while. And usually what they never do is they never interview fan studies people. And so we got an email a couple of weeks ago. And at first we thought it was spam because
we get so much spam.
we get so much spam.
I was at work and I checked my phone and I was like, oh, there's something in the Proton mail, because like the spam sometimes goes to my personal email and I'm like, what the hell? Literally, we have a pod email. And I was like, oh, this one actually went to the right place. Let me investigate. And actually by that I mean I sent a screenshot to Lauren and Lau because I was at work and I was like, hey, can you investigate this person and see if she's legit and if this is like an actual thing?
Yes. Important work we were doing.
I'm gonna investigate. I'm just gonna ask my friends to check this out for me.
Exactly. I was running the alkalinity of water, which is very important. Anyway, so I was like, they came back and they were like, yeah, she's a real person for the New York Times. Like, this is what we should say. And actually I didn't respond fast enough in those 5 minutes. And so Lauren logged in and responded back for us. Because again, I was at work. And,
and so I was like, oh, here's my chance to be a star. I love this for me.
Yeah, because the manifesto had broken containment.
Yes, the manifesto broke containment. And I mean, this happens with fandom because, like, I mean, fandom is more visible than it used to be in years past. I mean, like, especially in the early internet and like the late 90s, we had a lot of like closed listservs, emails. You know, there was things like chat rooms that were all closed to the public. We then migrated over to things like LiveJournal, fanfiction.net, Archive of Our Own, and even Tumblr. But in 2018 and 2019, there was like kind of a mass exodus from Tumblr, and it was caused by regulations in the United States called FOSTA and SESTA that basically were an attempt to curb online sex trafficking, but basically they delisted Tumblr from the App Store because it had instances of pornography on it. And so Tumblr had to go through and change all of their rules about pornography on their websites. And so a lot of fans ended up leaving Tumblr because they did not want to conform to the new standards, because also the new standards were sexist and didn't actually make sense and are not the actual cause of sex trafficking, and all of these things. And so places that people went are more accessible, more open to places like to people like journalists. Things like Twitter or X, things like Threads, Instagram, TikTok. And because of the algorithms of those places, you can get into like these pockets of fandom that then can get amplified into very big spaces like the New York Times. So basically, I was like, I want to be interviewed because I think I have a lot to say about this. Also, right now, as an academic, I am in the process of writing a book on heated rivalry.
Yay!
I know, I'm so excited. I'm getting my sample chapters ready to go to my publisher. So
I love that.
I know, I'm so excited. So I was like, I would love to talk about this issue. And so, Emmy called me. Emmy is the writer of the article.
Emmy, who Amanda and you were talking about as if I knew
we
who
were
this
besties.
was. Like, they were like, so Emmy said this, and I was like, who's Emmy?
Sorry.
No. Love Emmy. Emmy was so respectful, like very friendly, like is, I think, a member of the fandom, like knows a lot of the background. So it didn't feel like I was talking to a person who had never experienced fandom before or didn't know what was going on. I mean, this is like pretty niche. Like when I talk about this to like my colleagues and stuff, they're like, I don't actually know what all of those words mean. What do you mean skin?
Yeah.
What do you mean generative AI and fan fiction? Like,
yeah,
it's not very out there. But Emmy and I, for my first round of the interview, I think we talked for like an hour, and we talked about so much stuff. I think there was definitely an angle that she was trying to portray, which is like how upset and how like betrayed fans feel about AI usage in their fan fiction. but I was just trying to contextualize a lot of these things. Like, I was trying to talk about why fandom is more visible, why the AI generation is kind of like the AI generation conversation is weird, because even as an academic, this is how I feel. Why heated rivalry as a fandom has so much like negativity in it itself, but then also has a lot of negativity broadcast onto it. I was trying to give a lot of contextual parts of this. We talked, I think, for an hour and a half the first, or an hour the first time, and then we talked for like another 45 minutes, just about various things. And I think one thing that I wanted to like reiterate is that like all of us here were very anti like genAI, but also like we recognize like there's a lot of nuances that go into this conversation, but in general, we think AI is the antithesis of fandom. It is the antithesis of creativity. We don't believe that it has any space in not only fandom spaces, but in creative processes or in general at all. Lau and I see this at the academic level with our students.
Every single day is
every single day, and how we're fighting.
I've started seeing it in research.
Amanda started seeing it in research. I mean, it's everywhere, and it is very exhausting to talk about, and we want to recognize that as well. But yeah, basically, I want to say that Emmy did a really great job of like my interview, and then asked if there was anyone else, so I recommended Amanda to speak with them.
Yeah, I spoke with her for like 20-ish minutes. Our schedules were kind of chaotic. And I didn't give her what she was asking for in the way that Lauren said. But I did talk about how I do find it disappointing when authors use generative AI for fan fiction. Like, I really don't think that it's necessary. Like, I told her that like one of the perks of, at least in my opinion, one of the perks of fanfiction is that it's not perfect and that it is community and is very human, because that's what we're looking for in fanfiction, is that human experience, that human connection, whether it be like a crack fic or like a 100,000 angsty fic, or 100,000 word angsty fic. And so I did tell her how I was disappointed in all of that. So yeah, we talked for 20 minutes and she was like, oh, here are the quotes I'm going to use, blah, blah, blah. She texted me, and then everything I said got cut from the article, which, it happens. It might be for the best, because she did use my full name, and if people try to look me up for like my job stuff or like for a career and they find that, I don't know how well it would be received. I mean, it'd probably be fine. But when I want people to Google me, I want them, well, first of all, there's a British author who also has my name, which is weird. But if people are researching me and put Florida or my work in it, I want them to be able to find my contributions to conservation and my career, and not me griping and raving about
a gay hockey show
so much. Well, okay, I'll talk about that. I mentioned it once. Like, I talked about when I went to the rave in Chicago in February. But yeah, if I'm Googleable, I want it to be my work and not me complaining about other people,
Right, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's totally understandable. I mean, I talked to Emmy for like an hour and 45 minutes, and I had one quote in it, and it was just like,
pictures.
The fandom's really big, but then there were pictures.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was an experience. So basically, Emmy was like, like, I think the cover photo is going to be like this burn book kind of vibe, which is from Mean Girls, and like things just spilling out of it. But like, here's, like kind of what I envisioned. So they ended up contacting a photographer who does freelance for the New York Times, who lives in Chicago. I was
talking about those pants today. I'm obsessed with them.
My Polly Pocket party pants, which basically this is a whole story, but in the promo for Connor's story on SNL, one of the comedians, her name is Sarah, she's wearing these like jeans that have like plastic pieces of fruit glued to them or like sewn onto them in some way, shape, or form. But I was like, I really love that idea, but I want to do it with the rubber Polly Pocket clothes. And so I ended up sourcing a bunch of vintage rubber Polly Pocket clothes, and I put them in like rainbow on the front of these jeans. And so if you want to go look at the article, we'll probably also post it in our show notes and on our socials of the Polly Pocket party pants. That was most important to me, was that those got shown. But basically, I'm on summer break right now, so I do a lot of my work from home. I had this random man come to my house. We were kind of like keying. We're just like talking about a bunch of different places in Chicago. We were talking about like tattoos and stuff. And then in a lot of the photos, I'm sitting at my desk and I have Connor and Hudson on my desktop background. And so this is when the vibe started kind of getting weird because he was like, can you like reach out and like caress them? I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. Sure, like I don't really know what you're going for, but like this man had like no idea what was going on. Like he'd never seen Heated Rivalry before. He didn't understand like the AI really part to it, so I had to like kind of walk him through that as well. And like I understand, like he's just a freelance photographer. That's kind of how that's going. He probably just is like paid to take pictures and stuff, and like he has like notes from the people on what he should take pictures of, but like I don't know how much of the story he knows in the background. And it was also like being written and edited at the time that we were taking these photos. So he had me take some photos at my desk, and then I took some pictures of the Claude showing up. And then he had me like sit on my couch and put on Heated Rivalry and like watch that so he could take pictures of me doing that. But he kept being like forward to like a steamy
So he
scene.
wanted to capture you on your natural habitat?
Laying on my couch watching Heated Rivalry, yeah. But he kept being like, go to a steamy scene, go to a steamy scene. So I put on The Cottage because like there's not really that many steamy scenes. I really should have put on episode 5, but he was like, oh, they're kind of like in love. This is romantic. And I was like, yeah, like, yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
that's the whole fucking point.
It's the whole fucking point. And then he had me wear some of my like Blackhawks gear, which he was like, do you have any Heated Rivalry stuff in your house? And I was like, no, my house is too curated for me to just have a poster or a stand-up of Connor. Although if somebody wants to send me like a stand-up of Hudson or Connor, I would love that. But my house is a little too curated to do that. So I'm good.
You have an immaculate apartment.
I have an immaculate apartment. The only thing that I have that is Hollanov themed is what I carry my joints in when I go out in public. And it's literally, I have a Hollanov sticker from House Party on the inside of it. So there is a picture of my weed in the New York Times, which I felt like was a very important contribution to society. And then he left. He was there for like an hour. But I immediately like texted Emmy and was kind of like, hey, the vibes were weird. I don't really appreciate like being seen as like some crazy fan person who's like only obsessed with like gay men having sex because 1, I'm queer and that's not true. And 2, like that's not what this show is about and like not how I relate to this show. And Emmy was like super receptive of that. She was like, I mean, obviously I'm going to look at all of the photos before we put them out. I'm sorry that happened to you. Like, I will definitely go through this. And like, I don't think it's really like his fault. I think he just has like never seen the show and he only has one viewpoint of it from the media, which is that it's like this raunchy, smutty show. But like, I wish he would have done a little bit more research into it before he came and took photos at my apartment. But also, like, I survived it.
Also, people are exploited and unpaid, so we're not surprised that people are being mediocre at their jobs. Because, must I say, the final result.
The photos are gorgeous.
You look amazing. I mean, you always look amazing. I've never seen you in person.
Wait, but wow.
I've never seen you in person. So I can only say that through video, Lauren always looks amazing. But not only you looked amazing, your immaculate apartment.
I know.
Well. So I was really happy for you because I knew that this was very important for you.
Yes.
That your apartment like was portrayed as it is in these pictures.
And
so
actually,
I was really happy for you.
The picture of the joint case, there's a little framed picture in the background, and it's of a postcard that Lau sent me. Because I have it framed on like my little front. Because I don't have any pictures with Lau to put on my I have like a big metal locker for all my shoes. And I have pictures of Amanda on it, but I don't have any pictures of Lau. So I put the postcard that Lau sent me on it.
I love this.
Yeah, can confirm Lauren's apartment has always been and always will be the utmost vibe. People should make Etsy pages about it or whatever they do on Etsy. Not Etsy. Hello. What's the other Pinterest. Yes. Lauren's apartments have always been the Pinterest board. Like, ever since I've known Lauren for what, like 4 or 5 years now, I always inspire to make my place where I live like Lauren's. Like, that's why I've got all this shit on the wall. And people walk in, they're like, wow, like, you've got so much cool stuff. And I'm like, no, I just throw shit on the wall like Lauren does. It's great.
My mom is always like, there's too much stuff on the walls. I'm like,
no, it's great. You've got to fill it.
Vibe.
It's a vibe. It's awesome.
It's a vibe.
I love it.
So yeah, look at the pictures of Lauren's awesome apartment.
And I can always post more. But yeah, I mean, I think I heard a lot of chatter about the New York Times article. A lot of people were really upset that they focused on like the negatives part of this fandom. And I will say that in my interview, I did talk about like some of the positives that have come out of this fandom, you know, like raising a ton of money for mental health on Ilya's birthday, or like the fundraiser for the Innocence Project, which came out of a fic. And like, I think it ended up raising like the most money that they've ever raised in a single day. Like, because like the author of this fic mentioned the Innocence Project. And I mean, that's a fun, that's a nonprofit that's really close to all of us. So like, I did mention a lot of that, but like, unfortunately, also at this point with this fandom, so much of the negativity outweighs the positivity. And like, I constantly see people on both Archive of Our Own, both on Threads, everywhere being like, I cannot be in this fandom anymore. I am at my wit's end. Like, there is just so much toxicity. There's so much negativity. And I'm not saying that the toxicity and the negativity is like people being like, well, don't be racist anymore. It's like people being like, I'm experiencing racism and like, I can't be in this space anymore. Or I'm experiencing homophobia and I can't be in this space anymore. And like, you know, a lot of people with this AI issue are really upset about, especially Opal. But I think that issue and like Nutcracker and Wolfbird, those are very also convoluted issues on top of it. And I don't think this is really the place to talk about it, because I think all of the things that have been said about Opal and her work and her don't run my stuff through AI, but then also uses AI is already been said. So I don't think we need to express more of it. But I think like there is real like feelings attached to how people felt about that. Like we've seen it even like in this past week with Super Straight Bros Live, which was another fic where the person's being super homophobic in their fic and like doing things that like people and like responding to when they're like, hey, this scene really like icked me out, this was really not a good time, like trying to be like, hey, can we talk about this with the author just kind of brushed them off. And like, I mean, we do unfortunately develop these parasocial relationships with the big name fans in our fandoms, and so the feelings that people are feeling about this is very real. Like, but also we have to like also kind of look at the other side of this and how it's also being perceived in the media, and also like how so many people have left this fandom because they just can't deal with the racism or the sexism or the homophobia or the transphobia or whatever. And those are very real things that we have to deal with and like address.
I agree.
Yeah. And I think that's part of being in community and dealing with other people is balancing these things.
For sure. And I think that's one of the things that like kind of drove me to accept like to talk about this, was not only because I always want to have the fan studies perspective in a lot of these things. Fan studies scholars, while we are numerous, we are rarely asked to comment on fandom in public spheres, which is kind of crazy because I think our scholarship is very easily digestible by the public, or at least that's how I write a lot of my own research.
Listen, as someone who's doing research with you, I agree. I can confirm.
But also, I think like something that drove me to want to talk about this more was that like I I've been struggling a lot with the heated rivalry fandom and the responses to things and kind of the continued racism and just horrific fan behavior that's been happening. But I think like we, as a duty of fans and participants in this fandom, we should address it in a calling culture and begin to develop pathways for people who have never participated in fandom or don't understand why behavior is maybe icky or don't know that much about racism or whatever, pathways for them to learn and to be still a part of this and to grow as humans. And I think that's always something we've tried to set out to do with Since Rookie Season. And so it was important for me to get into the New York Times and talk about that as well.
Yeah, and I think you did a great job.
With my single quote.
Listen, it was to me,
you're out there,
a very important quote. So
should we read it?
Yeah, let's read it.
The quote, my single quote in the article.
We need to have the attitude of Mike Wazowski in this. So we're gonna celebrate that you have a quote on this article.
I appreciate that.
What is the Mike Wazowski?
Don't you remember Monsters Inc?
Yes, but what is the
Mike Wazowski is always like, they take a picture of them and then they put in like the cover of a magazine, but the
and his eyes like covered
or something,
he's
and
like covered
he's
by
like,
the sticker.
Yeah. And he's Sullivan is like, I'm so sorry, and he's just like, I'm in the cover of the magazine.
They called you Miss Rouse.
I know. In one of the captions, I specifically was like, it's Dr. Rouse, but that's okay.
No, because you are.
You actually are a doctor.
Yeah. The quote starts, "Heated rivalry became one of the most popular fandoms in the world," said Lauren Rouse, 30, a Northwestern University postdoctoral scholar in writing studies who co-hosts a Heated Rivalry fan companion podcast, end quote.
And Since Rookie Season is mentioned in the caption of the image of me where it says, Lauren Rouse co-hosts a podcast about heated rivalry called Since Rookie Season. So if you heard about us from the New York Times article, welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
I want to chew on those pieces so bad, by the way. The Polly Pocket pieces, I want to chew on them so bad.
Okay, I have like 20 left over, and I really want to make like a in case of emergency break glass and put the Polly Pocket clothes in there. And literally, my boss replied, because I just sent this out to everyone. And my boss, the director of my program, just replied and said, "Your Polly Pocket jeans made the New York Times. Amazing."
They're so slay. They're awesome, bro.
I can't wait to wear them to class this fall. I'm so excited. All right. We will be right back. This is Since Rookie Season. Don't leave us. Okay, let's chat casting.
Yay!
Yeah.
We're going to switch very quickly over to the new casting announcement that was made. We have our Troy and our Harris. Troy is being played by Charlie Gillespie, and Harris is being played by the love of my life, Justice Smith. However, there was a lot of discourse about both of these choices. One of them being that Justice is Black, he's biracial, and the second being that Justice is thin. So let's chat about it.
Yeah, I have some opinions on this.
I would love to hear them. Go.
Well, first of all, people complaining that Justice is Black when, like, this is something that happened in the Percy Jackson fandom, like, talking about Annabeth and Grover being Black, specifically Annabeth, like, that was a whole thing. So, like, fandoms being racist, we knew that. Like, that's not... Especially in fandom, we've been new. So, and also, did you see Justice in... I saw the TV Glow, like, hello? Oh my god.
A queer
icon. I love that movie. Yes, a queer icon. Like, I read the Wikipedia pages for both of these actors. I think Justice is explicitly queer, right? Or is it the one?
I think so, yeah.
There has been explicit queerness, and I'm just really excited about that.
Yes, Justice is queer. He came out in an Instagram post on June 5th, 2020.
Yeah, so that's fantastic and awesome, and we love including.
We love that.
Yeah, because also I know people wanted, like, smaller actors, but also, like, having a big actor that's outwardly queer is fantastic.
Really important. Yeah, and I wouldn't say that Justice is, like, a huge actor. I mean, he's done, like, Jurassic World, but he's always
bigger
played,
than
like...
Hudson in Connor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's played like smaller roles. I mean, Connor, remember, was in the second Joker movie,
Oh,
Full
Yep.
Ado.
I didn't see it. So
And was
Me
the guy
neither.
who kills the Joker. Spoiler.
I have not seen that
So
movie. I only saw
um,
the TV glow.
yes, but
So, I mean-
I love Justice. I'm super excited. I think there are a couple of concerns that I have. One, especially in the way that the companies who run this TV show and the directors fail to protect their other castmates of
Yeah.
color.
Yeah.
I'm like really, really nervous about there being a biracial man there. Also, Troy is like massively a bigot.
I know.
And it's never implied that he's a racial bigot, but like, girl, if you're ABCD, you're also
Okay, so
racist.
I have a recommendation for this because so Steve McQueen, who's a black director, which who I love, like he's amazing. He did this series that is like the compilation of like different movies, but they're a series called Small Acts. And one of the movies slash episodes, it's about this black man who decides to join the police force because he believes he can change it. And then he experiences a lot of backlash from his own community because they feel betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing you see in that movie will give you like a black and white answer. Like this is very nuanced. So for the like, I appreciate taking the risk.
Mm-hmm.
What worries me is the lack of care that we have seen from the people in power in this series towards their cast. But I do appreciate taking the risk to show us complex realities, just like a biracial man being a bigot, right? And I think it's very important because
Justice is Harris, remember? So he's
oh
not
yeah.
the bigot.
But even falling in love with
The bigot, yeah.
you know, like the small acts example is like this person acknowledge the amount of issues and racial profiling that goes into police force in that era, because this is during like the 70s and 60s and 80s in the UK. Small acts covers like those decades. And so this man is like, I believe I can, your honor, I can change him. And you see him go through that, go through believing that you can change a system that was built to kill you. And I really think I appreciate hugely when we see this, when we see people perhaps not getting into the best relationships, people perhaps having like complex and relationships or tensions with a loved one. As someone who is definitely very against a lot of what my family stands for, most of the time, I have been like thinking a lot around this idea of how can you love someone that stands for someone else who wants to kill you, for example, or wants you to be erased. I recently read this amazing memoir that I just forgot the name for, but I will check and we will put in your show notes. And it's this woman who's telling the story of her relationship to her family. And you discover very early on that his father is in jail for raping women. And she's trying to understand how to build a relationship with his father and the memory of with her father and the memory of her father, and where like what is her responsibility and how can she like and she's a survivor of rape as well. So there's like this whole complex building of family and building of like sometimes you get into relationships and then you discover, because she loved her father before she knew that this man was in jail for that, like she learned that he was in jail for raping people when she was an adult, so she had grown up idealizing her father in a way that made it very complex for her to come to terms with the reality. And she does this in a very feminist, very vulnerable way, and I loved it. So I actually appreciate when we do those nuances. What I worry is that the way this fandom operates and the way this industry operates will erase those nuances to the point where we get to the cast and biracial and black people paying the price again for the discourse that will be produced online.
Yeah, I'm hoping the call-in culture comes in clutch and the team is a lot, especially now that they have more resources and more money and there's more eyes on them, they will be more proactive with it.
Right, absolutely. I mean, like, I think telling the story of two white men falling in love and one of them as a bigot is very different than telling the story of a black man and a white man falling in love and one of them as a bigot. And I think they are going to have to address the elephant in the room, aka race, in interesting ways that I hope are also then carried over to talking about Shane and his race, especially since the long game has so many references to Shane's race in kind of icky and gross ways.
Yeah, and I hope that they'll touch on the way that, and like Lau was saying with like with your family and stuff, like when they're like against people with your identity, but they love you. I think that that's a way we can change people's minds is instead of arguing with them, is that showing them the people they love are part of these communities. And I think that hopefully that's something that the show will demonstrate is like, you might think this way about these people, but this is affecting someone you love, and this is someone you love that you're talking about this way, and that's a way that that person's going to need to change. So I'm hopeful that that's his arc, perhaps.
And just to be clear, we would never, and you should never put the weight of changing the bigot on the people they love and that belong to marginalized communities. Like, it really sucks that I have to continuously educate people I love on why my rights should not be erased as a queer woman in my country. It sucks. It's one of the most anxiety-inducing situations in my life. And I really resent when people assume that it's my job to educate them all the time and to have them change their behavior. So what we appreciate is that art portrays these very real, complex human relationships, but we do not want this to be turned into like, oh, we're using this biracial man as a way for this white bigot to become a better person, just as a lot of movies have used a woman to make a man less of a misogynist.
Yeah, that's not what I was going for at all, just in the way of like, I think if Troy wants to wrestle with his queerness and like coming out, I think he needs to address a lot of his internal oppressiveness, and that because it's all intersectional, and I think that includes addressing his internal racism that he likely has as well. So I'm hopeful for that.
I was sure you didn't mean that, but I know this fandom, so I was like...
That's true. People love to not understand the things that we say. Yeah. We know that for sure.
The other thing that we have to address when we're talking about this casting of Harris is the fat phobia.
Yeah,
which
this is something I also have. I'm sure we all have strong opinions about. And at first, I was a little neutral on it. I was like, I didn't understand. I saw the casting and I was like, okay, great. And then I saw, because normally my Twitter is very, I've said this before, my Twitter is very like fine and respective, but I saw both sides of this argument on Twitter, or all sides of this, I guess there's never just two, but I saw people up in arms on either side, and my algorithm didn't know which one I'd be on. And I had this thought that I was really excited to share, excited in that I thought it was like, so we've talked about how with Scott and Kip, Scott's a hockey player, Kip just likes to work out. Like, Kip, it just has that body. Like, maybe when we were watching that episode, I don't know, but it's just, he's just has that body.
I think just like poof.
Yeah, like he just likes to work out. I think the thing with Harris is that he just doesn't work out. I think he just has a like I don't even know how to describe it other than like, I don't think he's like obese. Like, I don't think he's like doing that one McDonald's challenge. What was that movie?
Oh, a big plus size
whatever.
Super Size Me.
Super Size? Yeah, I don't think he's like that. I think it's just like, is the average person that doesn't work out and is maybe just like stocky. Like, I don't know. I just did not understand what everyone was speaking about. Like, they wanted him to be like a certain size, and I was like, I don't think they were going to make everyone happy because that's literally impossible. But I do think, and from my perspective, I just thought he was kind of like me, just like a little round around the edges and not all the hard abs that Kip has. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I always pictured Harris as like, I mean, he says he like doesn't have a hockey player's body. They use words like stocky or like other things. Like, I've dated men who are like, 6'3", 6'4", and usually like 300 pounds, but like that looks very like, I think one, people don't realize how much bodies actually look like how much bodies like look like weights, or like, like how people like different body types carry that.
Yeah.
I always figured that Harris was a little more full-bodied in a way that like I am more full-bodied. Because like
same.
technically, like if somebody was passing around like a scale of fatness, and it was like I am like the very like I am skinny fat or whatever it was, but like it's because like I fit into like extra larges or like 1X's. Or I wear like a size 14, 16. And like skinny people think I'm fat, but fat people think I'm skinny. And so it's all about like your own perception of it. But I never thought that Harris was going to look like a hockey player. But also, like, hockey players are like big, bulky dudes. Like, they're like 250 pounds and they're tall, So like, when Harris was described, I thought he was a little more quote unquote plus sized, but like I can't visualize shit. So we talked about my aphantasia.
You have the
aphantasia.
Yeah.
So I couldn't picture him. And I know that Rachel has like posted that he's, bigger or things like that. But I understand why a lot of fat fans were really upset about like this guessing.
Yes.
Because fat phobia is rampant. I mean, like the Bears are doing Ozempic. Like, look at Ariana Grande. Like, girl, like she is literally skin and bones. Like, cocaine chic is back. And like, I grew up in that era where like body image was like you had to be a size 0 or a size 00 or a size 000 in the early 2000s, and I was never that. So I understand where a lot of fans are coming from and why they're upset that representation doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, we understand that. I mean, y'all understand it better because I haven't read the book. I'm waiting for us to cover it.
Love that.
So I have no idea. But I'm trusting my co-hosts of this podcast with this assessment. So yeah, I did say that one of the things, like, I love Kip. I love the Skip episode, even if we joke that is the Skip episode. One of the things I did say back then was that I was a bit disappointed that we were getting only like perfect CrossFit bro type of bodies, and that I have heard from a lot of my men gay friends comments about how that made them feel, considering the way that the gay community treats people that do not like fit in those standards of like body image. So I do agree that I would appreciate that at some point we could get bodies that are not the traditional steamy novel idea.
Right.
And we can do that. Like, the way Alice Osman draws Nick Nelson is not like, he's a rugby lad, but he's also a teenager.
Right.
And they draw him in a way that is, I actually appreciate it, because a lot of people who are considered overweight or fat, or they don't see themselves as skinny, they see themselves in Nick Nelson, and they see themselves portrayed in a light that never even like considers that that's a bad thing. So I would really love to see that in TV.
And honestly, like at the beginning of the summer, I was scrolling on Threads, and it was like there was this like thread that said like most people don't understand what 200 pounds looks like in a body, and it was like if you're femme and you're 200 pounds, like reply to this. And like, I'm 200 pounds. And like, I've always had like feelings about being 200 pounds. And I like opened the replies, and it was like all of these gorgeous, stunning femmes in bodies very similar to mine, and like doing very interesting things with fashion. And it was like very healing for me in a way, you know, like to see that, like, oh, I just look like all of these other people, and I don't think these people are fat. So like, why am I calling myself fat in some way, shape, or form? And I mean, like, I've dealt with body image issues all my life, and like, you know, like that is something that I'm working through in therapy and things like that. And I understand where people are coming from. The other thing that I want to address is how fat phobic people have been to Hudson recently. Because Hudson has like put on a bunch of muscle for like, they're gonna have to bolt down that goddamn set. But like, all people are doing is saying how fat he is and everything. And it's like, do we really want to expose an actual fat person to this fandom? No. Like, I'm good. So yeah, I think there are a lot of conversations. There are a lot of really great threads out there of people replying to or talking about their experiences and why they're disappointed about this. And so while we're really excited for Justice to be in this role, and we're really excited for Charlie, all of these things can also be true at the same time. That we're upset that there's a loss of representation of fatness, that we are concerned about how a Black person is going to be portrayed in this relationship, and how he is or is not going to be protected by cast and crew members. It's existing at all of the same time, forever and ever.
Yeah. And remember, we're using calling culture, not cancel culture, because
exactly,
we think we can all get a bit more educated on these issues and ask the questions and maybe change our perspective and do the work.
And you know what? There's a great option for you to do the work and to learn more. Not to plug this, but to plug it. We are running a summer reading challenge with basically every piece of literature, whether that be fiction, nonfiction, academic, non-academic, that we mentioned in our first season of Since Rookie Season. It is on Storygraph. We will link it in our show notes below. There are so many amazing texts on it. And if you are one of the first 3 people to get the list to 90% on your Storygraph, we'll send you a little prize from all of us here at Since Rookie Season. We would love for you to come learn new stuff about race, gender, sexuality, romance novels, etc. in the Storygraph Challenge. And yeah, really think about a lot of different parts of culture that you may not be exposed to.
Yeah. So let's read together, because none of us have read 100% of this list, because this list is compiled by stuff that we all contributed to. So there's a lot that I'm reading right now, and I'm learning a lot. And I'm sure that's true for my co-host as well. So join the conversation.
I'm actually not participating in that reading challenge.
I know. You don't have Storygraph. I know.
I don't have a Storygraph, and I'm reading too much for the book this summer, so.
Don't tell people, Lauren.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, join the conversation, please.
Yeah, join our conversation. And as always, you can find us on any of our social media. We're on Threads, Twitter, Instagram at SRS Pod or Since Rookie Season Pod. You can email us at srspod@protonmail.com with any of your thoughts on today's episode, as well as any of your thoughts on our past episodes. We love hearing from you all. And if you could like and give this podcast 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening to. I fight with too many people on the internet, and it might be taking our views.
Just a little bit.
We do have haters. So if you can contribute to the ones who love us side, we appreciate it.
We would appreciate you so much.
Yay.
And we appreciate your emails when you reach out. We do read them and talk about them. Sometimes we take a million years to respond, but we do like hearing from you all about what you think and what your lives are like.
And also, look out on your social media, because Lau and I, our IRB just got approved. So we'll be sending a survey your way very soon. Please, we need 5,000 participants. Send it to all your friends.
Gente colombiana, por favor, apoyen esto.
Colombian people as well. Okay, that's all we've got. We'll see you very soon. We'll be back in October. If you have anything you want us to cover, we're thinking about covering Game Changers novels that are between The Long Game and Heated Rivalry, so all of those. And then also we're going to be talking about stuff that's going on set from wherever we can find it. But if you have anything you would love for us to cover, like maybe a little wish list, we're happy to do that. We're also going to be looking at the other media that Connor and Hudson have been doing.
Mhm.
So we will be watching Yaga this October when it comes out. I'm so excited. But yeah, feel free to email us or connect with us on social media. We love you all so much, and we will be back soon. This is Since Rookie Season, signing off. Bye!
Since Rookie Season is created by Lauren, Lau, and Amanda. The cover art is by Lauren and Lau, and Amanda, your editor. Thanks for listening.